Enthusiasm is the action factor of thought, and the ninth principle in the science of personal achievement. Enthusiasm is often confused with animated feeling, but you can't get enthusiasm from jumping up and down or running around. Real enthusiasm comes from within, influencing the subconscious mind to act promptly on your burning desires, and it generates enthusiasm on the part of others.
When you turn on your enthusiasm, you step up the vibrations of thoughts which go out from your brain so that they reach and affect other people more quickly. As a matter of fact, you can send out thoughts which have been so stepped up with silent enthusiasm that they will reach and influence other people to whom you direct your thoughts. This is a fact which has been known to psychologists for ages, and it is also known to most master salesmen who use this method to condition the minds of their prospective buyers before they ever talk with them. You must have observed that the enthusiasm is very contagious, that it engages the attention of those who come under its influence and causes them to respond in a similar spirit of enthusiasm. I once heard Andrew Carnegie say that if you turned loose one man who thought in terms of intense enthusiasm in an industrial plant employing thousands of people, this man's enthusiasm would very quickly reach and influence every person in the plant. And he said that it made not the slightest difference whether the enthusiasm was negative or positive, constructive or destructive. Then Mr. Carnegie went on to explain that in his selection of employees for promotion to bigger jobs, the first thing he looked for was a man's capacity to express himself in terms of intense enthusiasm. He said that enthusiasm is one of the most important traits necessary for leadership. The most successful lawyers are not necessarily those who know most about the legal profession, but they are those who know how to influence courts and juries with their belief in their cases and have a great capacity for expressing themselves with enthusiasm. When you are introduced to another person, you have a marvelous opportunity to sell yourself favorably to that person by the extent of the enthusiasm you express in accepting the introduction. When you shake hands with another person, you have also a fine opportunity to make a favorable impression by the warmth of enthusiasm you put into that handshake. If there is anything which leaves me flat and unfavorably impressed when I'm introduced, it's an extended hand which feels like a piece of cold ham and acknowledges the introduction with a cold, canned, pleased to meet you, with no signs of enthusiasm back of it. Right here, let me give you a brief course in salesmanship, which may be of value to you the remainder of your life. When you meet anyone on whom you wish to make a favorable impression, when it is a stranger you have not previously met or someone with whom you are already acquainted, do these things. 1, turn on your enthusiasm and so modulate your voice with it that you definitely make the other person feel you are happy to communicate with him. 2, when you shake his hand, take a firm grip on it and give it a quick, firm squeeze at the end of each word you express in your greetings. For example, say, "How do you do? I am so very glad to meet you." Do not crush the hand, however, as I have known some people to do. 3, then if you begin the conversation, be sure that you direct it to some subject of interest to the other person. And 4, follow through by eagerly asking questions which will keep attention focused upon the other person. Then, when you are ready to have the other person hear what you have to say about yourself or your interests or your business, he will have been prepared to listen attentively. For many years, I taught master salesmanship, and the first important thing I endeavored to teach my students was the importance of 1, speaking with enthusiasm, and 2, selling the prospective buyer himself before trying to sell him anything else. I've often told my students of salesmanship that the best possible way for one to sell himself to others is to first sell the others to themselves. That counsel was sound when I began training salesmen, and it is still sound. When I was a youngster in school, I discovered that the teachers from whom I learned most were those who expressed the greatest enthusiasm in their teaching. And I have heard an experienced doctor say that the enthusiasm he carries into the sick room with him has more to do with helping to bring about a cure than all the medicine he can prescribe. And now let me give you another interesting sidelight on the effects of enthusiasm. I have noticed that enthusiasm not only influences others who come under its effect, but it also very distinctly influences and benefits those who follow the habit of expressing it in their thoughts and deeds. Enthusiasm is an expression of a positive mental attitude, and it has long been known to doctors that a positive mental attitude stands high on the list of influences which give one sound health. It seems that disease germs cannot live and thrive in the bloodstream of one whose mind is always positive. I have still another very important observation concerning the power of enthusiasm, which I wish to give you. I have observed that prayers expressed with intense enthusiasm bring much quicker and more satisfactory results. Now, you can try this for yourself and be convinced. I began experimenting with this idea many years ago, and from my experiences, I gathered the information which caused me to change my method of prayer entirely. I suggest that a very practical way to begin learning to express yourself with enthusiasm will be to follow the habit of reading aloud for 10 minutes daily, putting all the enthusiasm at your command into your reading. You will be surprised in a short while at how much this will help you in speaking with enthusiasm in your ordinary conversations. I would suggest also that you adopt the habit of practicing enthusiasm in your conversations with your family and your business associates. Incidentally, this habit will make you more popular with those who are close to you. You can enjoy the benefits of enthusiasm if you are interested enough to develop a technique by which to acquire this habit, so you will follow it in a natural, unaffected tone of voice. If you follow my suggestion that you read for 10 minutes daily as a means of acquiring the habit of enthusiasm, I recommend that you write down a list of 10 subjects, things, or circumstances in which you have the keenest interest, and use this list for your practice purposes.
Never let a day pass without devoting time to the habit of enthusiasm and the furthering of your plans. Practice speaking with enthusiasm before a mirror. If you meet with any sort of unpleasant circumstance, repeat your definite major purpose in life with great enthusiasm. Repeat it over and over until negative feeling is replaced by positive feeling. Controlled enthusiasm can have rich and certain rewards. Remember that autosuggestion is a powerful factor in the development of the habit of enthusiasm. So keep yourself sold on the belief that you'll obtain your definite major purpose, no matter how far removed it may be. Your mental attitude will determine the action your subconscious mind will take in connection with the fulfillment of your purpose. And keep your mind positive at all times. Enthusiasm thrives on positive thought and action. The subconscious mind can also be enlisted in the practice of the 10th of our universal principles of success, that of creative vision or imagination. This creative vision may be inborn, or it may be an acquired quality. It can be developed by the use of 2 types of imagination, as Dr. Hill explains.
1, there is synthetic imagination, consisting of a combination of recognized ideas, concepts, plans, or facts arranged in a new combination. Basically, new things or ideas are but rarely discovered.
Nearly everything known to and used by modern civilization is only a combination of something that is old. And two, there is creative vision operating through the sixth sense and having its base in the subconscious section of the brain, where it serves as the medium by which basically new facts or ideas are revealed. Now, one of the strange features of creative vision consists in the fact that it seldom operates unless it is quickened and inspired through a burning desire or some very definite and intense motive. When two or more minds are blended in a spirit of perfect harmony and oneness of purpose, the faculty of creative vision is stimulated in each individual to a rate of vibration which enables one to tune in with infinite intelligence. Now, if you are a student of the psychology of worship, you, of course, know the heights to which an individual mind may ascend during religious ceremonies. And you may be interested in knowing that any idea, desire, plan, or purpose which is brought into the conscious mind during these experiences of intensified emotion are automatically picked up by the subconscious section of the mind and carried out eventually to their logical conclusions by whatever natural means that may be available to the individual. When one combines the principles of definiteness of purpose, the mastermind, going the extra mile, and applied faith, the mind is then conditioned for the application of the principle of creative vision. Now, you see, the matter of conditioning one's mind for successful action is a progressive act which is developed step by step through the 17 principles of the science of success. First, as an example of the use of synthetic imagination, let us take the case of Thomas A. Edison's invention of the incandescent electric lamp. You may recall I told you on a previous program that Edison failed in more than 10,000 separate experiments before he finally uncovered the two simple ideas which, when combined, gave the world its first incandescent electric light. Now, you see, he was using synthetic imagination, putting together old ideas in a new way. Then, almost by mere chance, Edison resorted to the use of creative vision and got the answer to his problem in a matter of minutes. He had spent the entire day searching for the answer when he became exhausted and laid down for one of those 15-minute cat naps for which he was so famous. Just as he awoke, the elusive thing for which he had been searching through 10,000 failures flashed into his mind. It consisted of one of the two factors which went into the building of the incandescent electric lamp. He already had discovered one of these factors, namely that by applying electrical energy to both ends of a wire so as to form a short, the wire would heat up until it made a light. But the trouble was that the wire would also burn up almost instantly.
The second factor was something known to man since the discovery of fire. It just took Thomas Edison's subconscious to help him connect it for an invention that was to change the world.
It was the simple principle by which charcoal is produced, by setting a pile of wood on fire, covering it over with dirt, and allowing the heat to smolder until the wood is slowly burned into what is known as charcoal. You know that where there is no oxygen, there can be no combustion. Where there is but little oxygen, as in the case of that which percolates through the dirt, it slowly burns the wood into a charcoal. When this thought flashed into Mr. Edison's mind, he rushed back to his laboratory, placed a bent piece of wire into a bottle, pumped all the air out and sealed the bottleneck, then applied the electrical energy to the protruding ends of the wire, and lo, the world's first incandescent electric lamp was born of two simple ideas brought together in a new way. Naturally, the wire couldn't burn up quickly because no oxygen was reaching it, therefore no combustion. He hadn't used creative vision because he had not yet discovered it. But from there on out, Edison began to put the law of creative vision to work, and it helped him uncover more of nature's secrets than had been uncovered by all mankind up to that time. The invention of the incandescent electric lamp ushered in the great electrical age, which has been extended until it is an indispensable part of our entire system of economy. It has not only earned hundreds of billions of dollars in material riches and provided jobs to hundreds of thousands of people, but look what it has done to lighten the physical labor of all mankind. It is worthy of note that when the great overseer turns loose an idea in this world, it may become a part of the plan behind the entire universe.
Imagination won't change the course of the entire universe in every case. Sometimes it makes life a little easier and more profitable for the people who recognize and use it.
There's the very interesting case of one of my students who lifted himself to fame and wealth in a matter of months with the aid of synthetic imagination alone. The man to whom I refer is Clarence Saunders of Memphis, Tennessee. Now, Clarence was working in a local grocery store, delivering groceries and helping to keep the shelves stocked. One day, when he went out to lunch, he saw a long line of people waiting to serve themselves in a newly opened cafeteria, which was the first such eating place he had ever seen. Now, out of curiosity, he got in the line, filled his tray with food, and by the time he reached the checker's desk, an idea flashed into his mind. He became so excited over the newly discovered idea that he rushed back to his place of employment, went to his employer and said, "Boss, I have just discovered an idea that will make us $1 million. Now, let's turn this grocery store into a self-help store where women can come in, go behind the counters and fill up their baskets with food, and then pay at the checker's desk as they go out." He said, "Now, looky here, Clarence. I've told you before that your imagination would someday get you in trouble. Now, get this straight. You were employed here to deliver groceries, not to sell me $1 million ideas which aren't any good. Now, I'm going to—" "Oh, no, you're not," exclaimed Clarence, "because I quit." And quit he did. The next time we heard of Clarence, he had formed the Piggly Wiggly self-help grocery store chain and had opened the first store on money by men who understood the value of ideas. 4 years later, he sold out his Piggly Wiggly stores and cleared a little over $4 million. And the idea was not even created by Clarence Saunders. He merely borrowed it from the cafeteria plan of serving meals by oneself. You might say he just grabbed the idea in the cafeteria that day, dragged it across the street by the ears, and gave it a brand new use in the grocery store business.
One of the features of creative vision is that it seldom operates unless it is inspired through a burning desire or a very definite and intense motive. When it's combined with synthetic imagination, the results can be spectacular.
A good illustration is the case of Orville and Wilbur Wright, who built and flew the first flying machine. Previously, no one had flown a heavier-than-air machine. But the Wright brothers kept on experimenting through the application of synthetic imagination until at long last the law of creative vision was revealed to them. Then they built the machine in which they made their first flight. Incidentally, you may be interested to know that the phonograph, or talking machine as it was originally called, was the only strictly basic invention that Thomas A. Edison ever created. All his other patents were revealed through a combination of synthetic imagination and creative vision. The idea for the talking machine flashed into Edison's mind out of thin air, as he described it, and he went to work right where he stood and made a rough drawing of the first model, produced the machine, tried it out, and it worked from the very first trial.
There are several specific ways you can stimulate your own creative vision. Here, Dr. Hill gives you the key points in developing this principle for success.
First, get on good terms with your own conscience by following its dictates always. Then, stop selling yourself short and begin developing a belief in your capacity to do anything you desire to do. And keep your mind so busily engaged in getting the things and creating the circumstances you want that it will have no time to worry about that which you do not want. Find out who you are, what you want from life, what you have to give in return, and then back yourself with everything you have. Whet your imagination to a keen edge by keeping it everlastingly busy on something over which you can develop an obsessional desire. Obsessional, that is, not merely hopeful wishing. And be at least as good to your physical body as you are to your automobile by seeing that it gets the right sort of fuel and upkeep and the proper cleansing from the inside. Stop burdening yourself with fear and worry. Then set aside a silent hour when you will be still and listen for guidance through the small voice which speaks from within. Thus you may discover and appropriate the greatest of all powers, the power of creative vision. Creative vision is not the product of hustle and bustle and fear and worry and anxiety and greed. It is the product of meditation and silence and prayer.
A resourceful person will always make opportunity fit his needs. You can apply creative vision and imagination to any situation. For instance, suppose you're an employee working for a firm. Here's a way to put your imagination to work on the job. First of all, think about a plan that can help any employee do a better job. Can you show the company how it can save money on any operation without impairing it? Can you suggest to the company a product it could make and market at a profit? Can you come up with a plan which would give the community in which the company is located a better appreciation of the business's impact on it?
Can you suggest an idea which would make you happier in your job and worth more to the company? Can you suggest 5 rules of conduct which would make anyone more popular with his or her associates? Can you name 5 benefits you might receive by following the habit of going the extra mile, that is, rendering more service and better service than you're paid to render, and doing it in a positive, pleasing mental attitude? Can you give a practical definition of your idea of success? What would be that definition? My definition would be that success is the ability to get from life whatever you want without violating the rights of other people. Can you name the most important cause of success? Can you name 5 things you could do which might bring you a promotion and more pay? Can you say definitely, first, what position you wish to be holding 5 years from now? Second, what income you hope to be earning? And third, what sort of home you expect to be living in? Whom do you believe to be the most important person living? That answer should interest you very greatly, because the truth is that as far as you are concerned, you are the most important person now living. Can you name 3 things which makes our American way of life superior to the ways of all other peoples? What are your rules for making and keeping friends? Who does the promoting, an employee or the employer? What are your rules for earning promotion? Can an employee get more by griping and fault finding than he can by friendly cooperation with the management? Do you dislike people who do not agree with you and your ideas in general? Do you know what is your greatest fault and your greatest virtue? What would you say is the most important asset that you control? Can you control your mental attitude at will? If so, how would you do it? Do you think for yourself or allow others to sway you into their way of thinking? Can you name the 10 people who have made the greatest contributions to what we call the American way of life? Who, in your opinion, is our present-day greatest business and industrial leader, and why? If you can answer all of these questions correctly, you will have developed a marvelous capacity for using your imagination.
If you have imagination, you'll have the answers to these questions, or you'll get them eventually. Imagination inspires new ideas and material things. It inspires the use of personal initiative and creates enthusiasm. It gives you the will to try again after defeat. As we'll discover in our next lesson, there's good reason to recover from defeat and plenty to learn from adversity.